Fred on the couch.
You know us.
No, that's okay. Yeah. And she's waiting. She's looking at the door like. Yeah, that's exactly it.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Mud and everything. Dangerously close to putting her down. Nashville veterinary specialist.
Oh, yeah. Remember we were in the board, don't you? Remember the little girl they had that was like real premature and they thought she was on the other way. She's 22. She just turned 22. She's graduated with her master's. She went to college and she was like 16.
So they're over by Black Avenue.
She had to like be like in a bubble for like how long she couldn't be around us. Like around the time she got like 16, 17. They took her for like a round and like shots and stuff like that. So she was able to get out and about, but she's so little though. She was like about 14.
So they just
She's smart.
set up.
So she's smart.
Oh, Reggie. I mean, sorry, Reggie. So why don't
And then we had another two days that I made.
you want to start having like, yeah, go ahead. Start, yeah, going up. Come on, we're gonna start lining up. We're gonna got one position.
I know I'm behind you.
How do you want us to, how do you want us to? So you're going first.
It's just, everybody just, you're just gonna stand behind me.
Okay.
And then whoever's speaking knows when they're coming, they'll just step up and then step back.
Okay.
And let the next person come, and then I'll come at the very end again.
Okay.
So, but folks, come on, if you're here as a.
Brandy, are you
someone
going?
who signed the
You coming up
letter,
here?
just want y'all to be standing here with us.
You're in the last. You don't. I mean, just blocks of flags. Yeah. Probably go on that side.
Right, if I just put my
Yeah.
record there.
Yeah. I'll be holding my stomach in for a long time. You is funny. It's not gonna be that long.
You're good.
It's not letting me go share.
I keep calling him Kenny. Why did I do that? Maybe it's because he's got a cowboy hat on. I'm thinking. Sounds like a cowboy. Kenny the cowboy. I don't know. Reggie, I mean. Okay, so when Reggie gets here, he can just kind of step over there. Oh yeah. And then we got a
And
camera
you can
here,
come
so
right
if
here.
y'all can, yeah, perfect.
Speak what you do there.
Perfect, okay. Welcome, everybody. We're very glad that you all came out this morning. If you did not get a press release and a copy of the letter, they are over there on the chair. You can grab one of those. My name is Stacy Rector. I'm the Executive Director of Tennesseans for Alternatives to the Death Penalty. Our mission is to honor life by working to abolish the death penalty, to prevent violence, and to support all those who've experienced harm. I'm standing here today with Tennesseans who have been directly impacted by violence in our state. have some more coming in. In total, 51 Tennesseans have signed a letter that will be delivered to Governor Lee following this press conference. And again, copies of the letter are there. There is also a link to the letter with the signatories that were provided on the press release, so you all can find those as well. I'm going to tell you how things are going to go. You're going to hear from 4 speakers, all of whom have signed the letter. Once they have concluded their remarks, we are going to leave here and proceed over to Governor Lee's office. If you have any further questions that you want to ask after the fact, please see me or Rafia. Other folks are not going to be speaking after this, so myself or Rafia can talk to you. And we are on Facebook Live. I want to remind people are watching via live stream, and it will be shared after at TN Death Penalty on Facebook. Our first speaker, and I'm going to go introduce all the speakers first, and then folks are just going to come up one by one. Our first speaker is Rafia McCormick. She is the Director of Community Outreach for TADP. She is also the founder and CEO of Rodney's Village, a nonprofit named in honor of her son, Rodney, who was murdered in 2020. For the last year, Rafia has been traveling around the state with the Heal People campaign, educating victims of violence about the help that is available to them, and listening to victims and their families share more about their needs, particularly those needs that are not being met currently. We also will hear from C.L. Tim Williams. He is the chapter leader of the Greater Memphis chapter of Parents of Murdered Children, and this a surviving family member of a murder victim. Reverend Timothy Holton will speak after Mr. Williams, also a surviving family member of multiple murder victims, as well as a man who was executed for those murders. And finally, Kenatha Patterson, whose brother's life was taken by murder. She is here with us and will read the letter to Governor Lee. Again, thank you all for being here, and I'm going to turn it over to Rafia.
Good morning. Thank you for that great introduction. My name is Rafia McCormick. I'm a mother whose son, Rodney, was murdered in 2020. I stand here not just as a survivor, but as someone who sits in a biweekly grief circle with other mothers. Mothers who, like me, have lost children to violence and are doing everything they can to survive the aftermath. I'm not here to debate whether the death penalty is right or wrong. I'm here to say it doesn't serve us. Not as victims, not as families, and certainly not as a path toward healing. The bottom line, that taking on a life does not restore a life. It doesn't bring our children back. What it does do is create this illusion that the value of a life lost can somehow be measured by the severity of someone else's sentence. And while the state pours millions of dollars into executions, most of the victims I know are still waiting for support for services, waiting for basic things that we need to recover and rebuild. When my own son was killed, it took me a full year before I could go back to work. And this was after the criminal proceedings were over. But most mothers don't have that choice. They have other children to care for, bills to pay. They are expected to keep moving forward through the world like nothing happened because the system isn't designed to hold them. I sit with mothers who are grieving while trying to keep a roof over their heads, find counseling they can't afford, and guide their other children who are also traumatized and broken, through those healing journeys with no support. These families are not sitting around thinking about executions. They are trying to figure out how to survive, how to hope, how to live. The death penalty is not what these victims are asking for. It's what the system offers when it doesn't know how to offer real support. The amount of time and money this state spends on executions is staggering. For instance, we just spent $600,000 just to acquire lethal injection drugs for this execution. Meanwhile, victim service providers are struggling with budget shortfalls, and families are struggling to bury their loved ones or to afford therapy. This is not justice. It's misplaced priorities. What truly helps victims is trauma recovery services, financial and funeral assistance, counseling, safe housing, violence prevention programs. Yet those essential things remain out of reach while the state funds the execution of a few. If the state truly cared about victims, we will be talking about expanding trauma recovery, housing for grieving families, mental health care that meets people where they are, and support for children who have witnessed violence. This is what I want Governor Lee to hear. We don't need more death. We need more care. I've spent the last year traveling across Tennessee with the Heal People campaign, listening to victims and survivors from every corner of the state. And what I've learned is this: our needs are consistent. We need to be seen. We need to be supported. We need to stop being an afterthought in the system that claims to be about justice. But justice is not found in the death chamber. It's found in how we care for the people who have been the most harmed. It's found in making sure no other family has to suffer alone. It's found in prioritizing healing over retribution. I'm proud to stand here today with these other survivors to deliver this letter. We are not here out of anger. We are here with purpose. We want a better path forward for families like mine and, unfortunately, families that are to come. Thank you.
My name is Tim Williams. I traveled from Memphis today, accompanied by my daughter, Brandy, because it is important for me to take every opportunity to speak up for victims of violence. The mother of my children, Brandy's mother, was taken by murder. And as every person standing here knows, the impact of such a loss cannot be overstated. For me, this letter is about priorities and where we invest our tax dollars to have the most impact and the most benefit. Currently, victim service providers do not have adequate resources to address the needs of so many hurting people in our communities who need support to recover from a violent crime. What service providers know is that if victims of crime don't get the care that they need, our state will see an increase in generational cycles of crime that make our communities less safe. Share a little bit of TBI data. TBI data shows that around 21% of murders in Memphis are solved. Statewide, half of all murder cases go unsolved. This leaves family members struggling for answers and for accountability, and our community still less safe. Tennessee spends millions of dollars to pursue executions for a handful of people who have already been incarcerated for decades, while hundreds of Tennessee families continue to wait for their loved ones' cases to be solved and to access help for their recovery. Investment in victim support and solving unsolved cases make us safer. The death penalty does not and never will. This is why I urge Governor Lee to stop spending so many resources on executions and to reinvest resources into the people who are most harmed and in most need of support.
My name is Timothy Holton. My young cousins
Stephen, Brent, Eric, and Kayla Holton were murdered by their father in a crime that turned my family upside down. The effects of this tragedy have been damaging and lasting. Their father, my cousin Daryl, received the death penalty and was executed for their murders. Some in my family supported his execution, while others did not. The added trauma and pain that this division caused is still present today. Trauma and pain that has broken relationships within my family at a time when we needed each other the most. It was the death penalty that tore us apart. Too often, homicide occurs within families. I meet many victims' families who are grateful that the death penalty was never on the table, because they know the rift it would have caused for them and their families at one of the most difficult times in their lives. What my family needed was counseling. It was trauma-informed care and a better understanding of the untreated mental illness that led to this tragedy. I urge Governor Lee to reinvest resources currently used on the death penalty to support grieving families like mine, to bring them together and to help them heal. Please hear me as someone who has lived through this experience. My family didn't need the death penalty. My family needed help, not further division. Thank you.
At this time, Kenitha will read the letter.
Good morning. Tennessee survivors urge Governor Lee do not resume executions. Dear Governor Lee, as victims, survivors, and family members of those impacted by violent crime, we write to urge you to reconsider Tennessee's plan to resume executions. The millions of taxpayer dollars spent pursuing death sentences and housing and executing individuals on death row could be better used to support victims in their healing and to invest in violence prevention efforts that would make our communities safer. We are grateful for your leadership in stopping executions when serious problems with the lethal injection protocol were identified in 2022. A decision that demonstrated a commitment to fairness and integrity in Tennessee's justice system. However, resuming executions without transparent and detailed protocol to address the former protocol's shortcomings will only lead to more problems, more uncertainty for victims, families, and more risk to correctional staff who will be impacted if execution is botched. As crime survivors, we know firsthand what families need to heal, and the form of punishment imposed on the person who caused the harm is often not the primary concern. What truly helps victims is access to trauma recovery services, financial and funeral assistance, counseling, safe housing, and violence prevention programs, yet these essential resources remain out of reach for many. As victim service providers struggle with budget shortfalls, while the state continues to spend significant funds on the execution of just a few individuals. The death penalty drains resources from programs that could provide real and immediate relief to all victims and their families. The financial costs of maintaining death row, handling decades of appeals, and acquiring execution through drugs, which recent reporting revealed cost the state $600,000. It comes at the expense of investments and services that actually help all families rebuild their lives. While Tennessee has taken positive steps such as expanding access to the Criminal Injury Compensation Fund and creating dedicated funding in the state budget for victim services. Many victims still face barriers in accessing the support they need. We urge you to direct state resources towards solutions that genuinely serve all victims. Trauma recovery services, mental health support, legal assistance, and community-based violence prevention initiatives have been proven to reduce harm and improve safety. Instead of allocating public funds to a punishment system that extends legal battles and re-traumatizes families, Tennessee should prioritize programs that provide stability, healing, and finality for survivors. Governor Lee, we ask that you do not allow executions to resume. Given all of these concerns, and instead ensure that Tennessee's resources are used in ways that uplift victims, strengthen communities, and prevent future violence. True justice is not found in the death chamber. It is found in investing in the well-being of those who have suffered the most. Thank you for your leadership and your dedication to ensuring that all victims in Tennessee receive the support and resources they need. Sincerely.
Thank you, all of you, for being here, and the 51 folks who signed this letter. We are going to now make our way to Governor Lee's office, and if you all have follow-up questions, please see Rafia or me once that letter is delivered. Thank you very much for being here.
Let me make sure I understand correctly. So you won't do one-on-ones now. We're going to